Hello, and thank you for visiting the Expansions website. I'm Michael Hautsager, your host today for a conversation with Janet and Stewart Swerdlow, co-creators of StewartSwerdlow.com. The purpose of this interview is for you, the listener, to gain a better insight into the work of both Janet and Stewart by having them tell you their story. And with that, let me welcome both Janet and Stewart. Welcome to this program today.
Thank you.
Stewart, why don't you start out by telling the listeners, how would you characterize the theme of your work?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I look at it like a person who would take lemons and make lemonade out of it. My experience, unfortunately, came from a very negative perspective of the Montauk Project, of mind control and genetic manipulation, which a listener may have heard about. And from that experience, I devised methods to open up the 90% of the brain that is not used by most human beings, so that they're able to access their mind patterns and genetic codes so that they can find out who and what they are and alter their lives in the way that they see fit for themselves without the external controls that are imposed on them daily.
And how do you go about doing this? Is it through a seminar?
I have a series of lectures and seminars that I do. They are consisting of what I call the language of hyperspace, which involves color, tone, and symbol or archetype, which is the foundational energy that creates all manifestations in creation. It also goes into different seminars on opening up the genetic codes through understanding the DNA sequences and how to use them. And I also go into healing techniques and simultaneous existences, dream analysis, and even talk about the energy centers on the earth and how they're related to the chakras of the human body.
Wow. Stewart, is there a way to characterize, say, the type of person that is attracted to this type of work?
Over the years that I've been doing this, and I travel globally, literally around the earth, I have a very wide range of people who are attracted to this type of work. Some of them are young students in high school and college, and some of them are retirees. One of my oldest students was a lady in Florida who was in her 90s. But for the most part, they're everyday people who have all kinds of occupations who are interested in taking control of their daily lives and functions and knowing who and what they are. Now, there is a large percentage of medical professionals who are interested in the healing techniques, and there are also a large percentage of therapists involved in psychology and psychiatry who look for an alternative to the standard medicine methods of controlling mind patterns.
Now, have you ever followed up with any of your students after they've taken these seminars to find out how they have practically applied what you teach to their daily lives?
In fact, I have a certification program for those who are interested, so that after taking a certain series of lectures and seminars, they can actually take a written exam, which is available both in English and German, and they can have a certificate enabling them to teach this to others and becoming teachers in their own right. And the reason I've done that is so that there is a standardization of the techniques that I teach, because I had found in the past that a lot of them were taken out of context or mixed in with other modalities, and the words that I had spoken were not actually what I had wanted to give out into the world. So for this reason, we had to have given a certification program. But certainly, even if you only attend one lecture or seminar, you probably will get enough ideas and understandings about the nature of reality and about yourself to look into matters on your own. And I do encourage people, no matter what I say or tell them, to do their own research and find out for themselves, so that it's a knowing that comes from within them rather than what somebody else has told them.
Yes, but those students, though, that have gone through these courses, how have they changed their lives or done things different after they've learned your techniques? How has that made a difference in their lives?
I have gotten a lot of feedback from many different people all over the world, and just about 100% of it is positive. They have told me that they're able to balance their thought process, gain control of physical illnesses that were disturbing them. They sleep better at night. They're not disturbed by news or events in their lives that would have traumatized them before. They're learning and have learned to use the colors that I teach as a formula for themselves that they can devise and create and manifest in their world everything that they seek and desire, not only for themselves but for their loved ones and those around them. So it extrapolates from the person who learns it, and they just can't help but tell other people. They don't like to keep these information to themselves because it rings true.
Would you say that their mental capability has grown?
Absolutely. Even people who just attend one seminar, even if it's just for one day instead of the 2 days, have told me that they've expanded their ability to do visualizations, to concentrate, to understand, and it's improved them tremendously. They can study better and take better exams and react better with other people.
So Stewart, these are apparently techniques that, up to this point in time, not a lot of people know about. Where did you learn about these things?
Just about all of it was learned through the Montauk Project. Even though they used it for mind control and negative purposes, I took that information, which is still valid truth, and applied it in a positive way so that the average person can learn how to use it for themselves. I always use the analogy of a pen. You can take a pen and write beautiful poetry with it and love letters, and you could take that same pen and stab somebody with it. That same pen can be used for positive and negative purposes. And so, same thing with the language of hyperspace or any energies. You can use it for positive or negative. I took my negative experiences with this type of situation and applied it in a positive way so that it can help people instead of hurt them.
Now, there will be many people who are still interested in the Montauk Project. Do you have a series of books and tapes and things like that you sell on your website?
Yeah, in fact, if they click onto that section in the website, they will see the listings of books and videos that we have, as well as other items that we have available.
Yeah, I sort of looked through that today. It's quite fascinating. Could you just give us a quick overview of what those books are and what the videotapes are?
Sure. There are books on the Montauk Project themselves, my personal experience with it, and then there are videos and books about the healing techniques that I have devised from that information, all using mental capacities so that you can use your own mind pattern to heal yourself and others. I also have visual aids like a chakra sock or tube with the colors on it in proportion to the energy systems of the body that can be used for people who need to see it in front of them. There are also videos on the Illuminati and the true history of the world and galactic history. And there are also tapes and videos on color therapy and both advanced and intermediate, as well as simultaneous existence.
Wow. So essentially, Stewart, you're taking what was learned from literally probably billions of dollars that was spent on this Montauk, I call it experiment.
It was.
In a sense. You're taking the results of that, and even though the intention perhaps was not all that good for that project, you're taking the results of those billions of dollars and now applying it and giving it and teaching it to others.
Exactly.
So they could use it in a positive way.
Yeah, and in fact, it really does access the thought process of God mind. That's really what language of hyperspace is. And it depends on the intention of the user as to the outcome of that energy. The energy itself is neutral. It's what you do with it that matters.
So essentially, do you help us become perhaps what we're really capable of being and what we're meant to be?
Yeah, I try to help people open up the 90% of their minds that isn't used, as well as the 96% of the body that is untapped. So that's pretty inefficient odds if you think about it. People are walking around only using 10% of their brain and only 4% of their bodies.
Yeah. It's sad in a sense. but it's good that there are people like you who will help us to gain, what was lost. Janet, on the other hand, you also teach seminars, I guess write books, do lectures.
That's correct.
How are you perhaps a little different than what Stewart has to offer?
Well, what I have to offer is a little bit on the softer side, I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
What I do is I help people utilize what they are already doing. People all have some sort of paranormal experience in their life, or they have all had some sort of feeling, or they know something, but usually it comes in on a sporadic basis. And what I teach people to do is to go in on a proactive basis, connect with their oversoul and God mind, and bring down answers whenever that they want the answers, instead of waiting for the answers to come to them. So mine is, while Stewart teaches the language of hyperspace, I really teach people the language of feeling, or as I call it, to know by knowing.
Mm-hmm. Do you attract a little different audience?
We have some crossover audience, but primarily I do attract a little different audience. I attract the type of person who just wants to know what's going on within themselves and within the outer world, and they really don't want to get in on chew on something. They just want to know. They want to be able to know what to do in whatever life situation presents themselves at the moment. And I give people very simple exercises that build up into larger exercises that eventually, information that at one time might have seemed astounding to them is very simple, because I always say that what is very simple has just been made very complex. And to me it's important to break that complexity down back into simplicity, and so we can get off the cycle in that sort of a fashion.
So at the end of, say, one of your seminars, what are some of the revelations that your students have had?
I'd say the biggest ones is that they realize how much that they already know. For instance, people always want to be psychic, but I say when you open up those doors, you not only see the positive, you also see the negative, and you have to deal with the negative. And so people don't really realize how much they already know. For instance, whenever you walk into your living room, you know that you're in your house, and you know about the chair that's there, but you don't actually label it a chair. You don't label it a table. You know how that item got into your living room. You know if it was a positive experience or a negative experience. And everything in that living room has a history that you know by knowing simply by walking into that living room.
Mm-hmm.
When you start opening up that portion of your brain and you want a solution to the unknown, so to speak, and you are able to connect your oversoul with God mind, and you pull in a picture, a thought, a feeling, just by looking at that in a very minute capacity, you know so much information just by looking at it. But you have to practice on an everyday basis of labeling, and after a while the labeling goes away, and you just know. When you look at a person on the street, you know who they are, you know if they're positive, negative, you know where they come from, you know what their occupation is, you know if they have children, if they're married. All of a sudden you just realize how much you know about what already is going on around yourself.
And could you explain why it is so important to go to a seminar to gain this experience or knowledge?
Well, the most important thing really is for people to learn to become their own teachers. Mm-hmm. We are so used to going to the outside for information. It's important for people to go to the inside. I tell people that they're really learning in a backwards fashion. They're being pulled on a horizontal level to go outside and to find out what's going on and then confirm that information within their self. And what they need to do is they need to look at self first, and then once they have their own answers, go outside for confirmation, because the outer is simply a reflection of what's going on inside of the person.
Okay. But what you're teaching is, I call it almost like a way of knowing.
It is. It's the path of mysticism. It's knowing by knowing. That is what I teach people to do, and that's the way that I was taught by my own oversoul since birth. Mm-hmm. I know by knowing. I know just by looking at a person everything that I need to know. I never pry because I consider that an invasion of privacy. Mm-hmm. But because I'm connected to my oversoul always gives me the information that I need for any particular reason about any particular person at a given moment. If I'm not supposed to know something, that information does not come down to me. If I am supposed to know, the information is there. I am connected. And that is what I teach people to do, that they are already connected, but they have to recognize it, clean it up, and utilize it to their benefit so that they're walking on a vertical pathway so they can go as high as they possibly can to get the information from the highest source possible. They need to connect self, oversoul, and God-mind, as Stewart was saying, so that they get the information directly from the source.
Mm-hmm.
And what is being proliferated these days, and then what I call the New Age disinformation, is to go to the outside. But once you go to the outside, you don't know those sources. You can make guesses and you can make guesstimates, but that's absolutely it. You don't know. You have to be in a place where it's very critical, or in a very critical age, that you know who and what you're dealing with at all times, and you can only do that by connecting self with oversoul and God-mind.
Mm-hmm. But what is the benefit of going to a seminar to learn this versus reading about it in a book?
The benefit is always one-on-one, so that you can actually talk about what you already know. And we can find that some people will say, well, I'm not psychic, but I have heard more people say that and run themselves down. Sometimes they need somebody to say to them, look at what you already know, and to help them find that so they can build on it. When people leave my seminars, they leave feeling confident that they do know something. Personally, I don't like the word psychic, but that's the best thing that people can relate to, because that's the word that is being used out there. But they understand how intuitive they are and how capable they are of getting their own answers simply knowing by knowing. They have somebody in front of them that can confirm. And for some reason, people seem to want that. They're not self-sufficient enough and secure enough within themselves to say, I know. They need somebody else to point out to them. This is what you know. Take a look at it. Now let's build on that. But yes, you're very intuitive. You do have answers, and this is where you find your answers.
Mm-hmm.
And when they leave my seminars, they realize that, and they have simple, effective tools that they can take home with them and use and make definite changes on an everyday basis.
Janet, how did you gain the knowledge and the experience so that you're in the position now to teach others these techniques?
Well, actually, I was very fortunate to have been raised in a family life since infancy that taught metaphysics, and I'm now in my 40s, so I hate to say it, but I'm in my 5th decade of this, of what is being taught on the earth plane.
Mm-hmm.
So I had that support system as a child, plus I was always consciously connected to my oversoul, and my oversoul has been what has taught me. I have had very few outside teachers. I believe in listening to everything that goes on around me because I want to be informed, but primarily my oversoul has taught me step by step, and because I have been taught step by step, I can turn around and teach others step by step, so I feel very fortunate in that way.
So you were taught by spirit directly?
By my oversoul directly, yes.
Okay. And so you finally, how many years have you been teaching these seminars?
I've been teaching about 25 years.
Wow.
A long time. I did take a sabbatical because Stewart and I had a couple of children, and I believe that my family needs to be put first. So I have been on sabbatical for a while,
mm-hmm.
but I've continued to do my personal work as well as support Stewart in his. While to some people it seems that our work is very different, in effect it's actually very complementary.
Mm-hmm. Just different roads to the same place.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, in addition to some books and videotapes and seminars, are there any other services that you offer?
I'd also like to mention that I'm in the process of putting together children's clinics. I have some people who are working with me to put together books that will be geared to children from about the age of 3 on up into youth, I'd say early teens, and also young adult if they want.
Mm-hmm.
And this will be teaching them the chakra spinning, the archetype, body work, a wide variety of things, positive thinking, self-esteem, so that we can start raising our young people in this genre in a correct fashion, basic, simple metaphysical principles that work. So this is something I'm very excited about, and people should be watching the website for these for notification of these upcoming events as well as products.
And we're also in the process of looking to open up a teaching center somewhere in North America, and we're very open to possibilities in various different locations, and we welcome any of the viewers or listeners to put their information in, or if they'd like to assist us in that capacity.
Yeah, Stewart, how do you envision this teaching center to be?
Well, it's going to be based on actual mind pattern and language of hyperspace information. how it can be applied to physical reality and the various functions that exist. For example, taking the color sequences and the DNA information and mind pattern analysis and applying that to being a physician or a lawyer or a teacher or a farmer or any possible work that is out there, and so that everyone can literally be on the same page and understand how creation exists, what is behind it, and how you can use it for whatever response or reaction you would like.
As well as incorporate it for practical purposes in everyday living.
And also, bottom line is, take control of your own mind pattern.
What you're talking about, both of you, is such a change in the paradigm that many of us were raised. Have you found that there's resistance to this, or are you just sort of taking the attitude that this is right, no matter what, we're just going to go forward with it?
Well, I personally know that it's the right thing to do. I certainly understand that not everybody agrees with me, and of course there's always going to be people who are coming from a basis of fear and don't want to see the change. But no matter what people want, there's a certain condition that's coming upon this world that would be in everyone's best interest to be prepared for it. And it's kind of like being at the beach and you have your back towards the ocean and the tidal wave comes and washes you away. Well, if you were at least watching where the water was coming from, you'd be able to get out of the way or know how to survive. And this teaching center that we have in mind is designed to teach people to be the best type of person that they are. It's not designed to make them into something else, but to be the best of what they are.
What we're really showing people right now is how that people are being mind-controlled as a group. And what we're really teaching people to do is to recognize themselves as individuals and to plug the holes in their mind patterns so that they cannot be controlled unless they want to. And there are some people who find that an easier way to live their life. But there are other people who want to move out of the group mind, where the group mind is controlling them, into the individualized mentality. And that's really where we're helping to move people. Think for yourself, get your own answers, become your own teacher. Stewart and I, really, our main goal would be to work ourselves out of these positions. We would like it for people to not have to come to us, for them to be able to go inside, and also to take the information that they're learning from us and to pass that into their own groups to become teachers to other groups needing teachers. That's really our goal, is to disseminate the information in as many ways as possible and to teach people to get their own answers.
Well, Stewart, you earlier alluded to a condition which may be coming upon us in the future. Could you describe what you think that might be?
Well, I know what it is, and that is really the total control by those who monitor and control this planet. And that time is imminent. In fact, it's a matter of very few short years. And so people had better be prepared for that type of existence, because once it takes effect, it's going to be very difficult to undo. It's in everyone's best interest at this time to learn and understand who and what they really are and take control of themselves. And if they don't, they will then be subjected to external control and will become little cogs in a gigantic robotical wheel.
Do you see this wheel, however, being where, say, 90% of the people are cogs in it, but the 10% are free thinkers in a sense?
There will be no room for free thinkers in that world.
So it's an either-or situation then?
Basically correct. The only comparison that I can give people, and basically the Illuminati is giving it to them through the media. All they have to do is watch the Star Trek episodes that contain the Borg. And that is exactly the type of society that is in store for them.
So this is almost an urgent call to action here.
It certainly is.
Now, are you saying that if enough of us become, and I'm just using the word free thinkers, free by meaning we're connected with Source, do you think that would thwart this overthrow, in a sense?
Well, you are always connected with that God mind. You
Mm-hmm.
can't not be connected to it, otherwise you wouldn't exist. The idea is for you to become aware of it and use it daily. And if you teach that to other people, it will reach a critical mass that will spill over to others eventually. And when that happens, there will be no room for control or tyranny, but rather complete independent mind patterns.
What is happening right now is people are willingly giving themselves over to the mind control, to the group control, without realizing it. We want to stop and see what it is that they're doing so that they can stop that. And once they no longer willingly give it, it cannot be taken.
But are you both saying that there could be a point where we won't have that choice anymore?
Well, eventually, when all the mind patterns are locked up and under control, it'll be very hard to break free of that.
Mm-hmm.
So the time to work is now.
So there certainly is much urgency, because I think what you're saying, and based on your experience at Montauk, you have a knowingness that this is around the corner.
Well, I know what they have planned. I was told what they have planned.
Mm-hmm.
And every day in the newspaper I see it. If people were to open their eyes, if they were to look at your own money in your wallet in the dollar bill under the pyramid, where it used to say e pluribus unum, and now it says novus ordo seclorum, New World Order. It's on your money.
Oh, I'll have to look at that. Wow. Well, it sounds like just generally it's a better experience to be free to get information from your own higher self. In addition, again, to the things we've talked about, are there any other services that you provide?
Yeah, well, much of my work when I'm home is a private consultations, usually through the phones, because people call me from great distances. I tune into frequencies. All I need is your birth name and birth date, and you're like a radio station that I can tune into and get all the information pertinent to you. And then it's up to that individual whether or not they wish to change anything. But I go through the entire scan of their being and discuss everything that I see and suggestions of correcting certain patterns. That's one of the things that I do. Very often I'm also called upon for healing techniques of other people. In other words, someone has an illness and they need assistance in removing that illness. And so very often I'll do work on that person by, with their permission, connecting to their energy field. And then there are such work as your own personal archetype, which is really your signature or thumbprint in hyperspace, which I tell you what that looks like and teach you how to decipher the meanings and how to use the portions of it. And there's a wide range. Anyone who's interested of the services, just look at the website and it's all listed right there.
Yeah, I see you update it quite a bit. There's a news section which looks like you update every couple of weeks or so.
Basically what I do is I look at the newspaper to see what the media is telling people, and then I translate that into what it really is telling you.
Yeah, that was interesting reading. A little scary as I saw it. Janet, how about you? Are there any other services that you offer?
Besides the seminars and classes, as I mentioned, I am in the process of developing the children's school and clinics. I also do personal consultations. Mine are a little bit different than Stewart's. I go up to the oversouls that are involved, and I simply ask my oversoul to speak to your oversoul, and any information that I need then is brought down to me from my oversoul, and that is what I discuss with the person. I like to specialize in more interpersonal relationships, family counseling, marriage counseling, issues to do with your children, that sort of thing. That's my preference, although I do other things. And really that's what I'm focusing on at this particular time.
Okay, well, any closing comments about what it is you have to offer that we can share with the listeners at this point?
Well, I would like to thank everyone who visits our website and who does support the work that Stewart and I are doing. And I appreciate comments. I hope that everyone will always feel free to either call me by phone. My phone number is always listed on the website, or to email me. And if for some reason you do not receive a response from your email, please do it again. because we always do our best to respond to email. If it's particular to Stewart and he's traveling, I hold the email for him until he returns. And every once in a while I get a call from someone who says, well, I've tried 2 or 3 times, but I don't get an answer. So something somewhere has gone wrong. So please keep trying, because we appreciate those people so much who do work along our lines, and we do want to answer any and all comments.
And I'm in the process of writing another book, which is tentatively titled Walking Between Worlds. It is basically a 2-pronged book, one side of which is the history of this planet and the Illuminati development, and on the other side is my personal experience in history, and then I show where it crossed over and the experiences became in line with each other, and then what I've done from that point onward and what I'm doing now. So that's in the process, and hopefully will be available sometime next year. And I'm continuing my work traveling, doing seminars, and I do encourage people to send emails to me also with any questions they might have. Because I'm not home, I may not answer you right away, but I will always get to you and answer your question eventually. And I welcome anyone to visit the website, to call us personally and contact us, to come to seminars and lectures. I look forward to meeting everybody. I know that the information may not be accepted readily by everybody, but if you set aside everything that you think you know up to this point and listen to what I have to say, you'll be able to incorporate a large percentage of it into what you already know, and a lot of pieces will come together for you.
Well, listen, thank you, Janet, thank you, Stewart, and thank you, listeners and visitors to this website for tuning in, and we all look forward to having a deeper relationship with each one of you.